Next to me is the Lamborghini LM002, the original Lamborghini SUV. Made from 1986 to 1992, this was the wildest, most powerful truck money could buy. Rewind to 1976, and Lamborghini collaborated with an American military company called Mobility Tech International. They worked together to create the Lamborghini Cheetah, which was unveiled at the 1977 Geneva International Auto Show. Unfortunately, that project was canned because the design of it was way too similar to a vehicle that a company called FMC designed for the Pentagon. FMC actually decided to potentially sue Lamborghini, and they abandoned the project altogether. But that's a good thing, however, because it forced Lamborghini to make something new, the Lamborghini LM002. A vehicle that was originally supposed to have a machine gun mounted on the roof as well as bulletproof armor was quickly transformed into a special edition road vehicle when the United States decided to spend money on the Humvee instead of on the Lamborghini military project. Now we have the production model. Why have a mid-mounted Chrysler V8 when you can have a Lamborghini V12 under the hood? And that brings us to our first insane feature of the LM002, and that is the fact that it has a 5.2 liter V12 from a Lamborghini Countach. That's right, there is a Countach motor right here that cranks out 444 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. Now, granted, this weighs a ridiculous 5,950 pounds, so its 0 to 60 is only 7.7 seconds, but it sounds incredible. Better than any SUV I've ever heard. Well, instead of just me telling you about it, why don't we listen to what this thing sounds like? The LM002 is constructed from a steel tubular space frame. It's almost comically badass in its looks. It's strong, it's aggressive, and just look at the ducting and vents on the hood. This bulge is here for no reason other than to fit the massive Countach V12 beneath the hood. That brings us to the next insane feature of the Rambo Lambo, its tires. From the factory, the LM002 came with 345 millimeter tires in the rear and in the front. That's right, this is the same size rear tire a LaFerrari has, but in the front as well. Now, the OEM Pirelli Scorpion tires were actually specifically designed, 1, to be run flats, and 2, to operate in high heat environments. As you can imagine, the majority of these ended up in the Middle East. Because they're no longer in production, since this is an old vehicle, getting a replacement tire for this will cost you $4,300 each. A full set, $17,200, and that doesn't even include mounting and balancing. That is absurd. But the LM002 was very expensive. Back in 1986, it would have cost you $120,000. That's the same purchasing power as $274,000 in today's money. The new Lamborghini Urus will cost you just 200 grand, so it's 74,000 more than a new Urus. But what's even more interesting is how the LM002 got its name. The LM stands for Lamborghini Militaria. When the Cheetah project was dropped, the Mimram brothers, who ran Lamborghini at the time, decided to come out with the LM001. That featured a 360 cubic inch AMC motor. Then they decided to bail on that and put a Lamborghini V12 and dubbed that the LM002. Who's ready for the LM003? Never before have I talked about a vehicle's gas tank during a review, but this feature is so insane, it was definitely worth mentioning. To put things into perspective, the current largest fuel tank you can buy on any vehicle is a 2018 Ford Super Duty. 48 gallons. Well, the Rambo Lambo puts that to shame with a 76-gallon tank. That's right, 76 gallons. Even with 8 miles per gallon of fuel economy, you can still travel 608 miles on a single tank. And with current California gas prices, that means each fill-up will cost you $322. $322 is much more akin to a gas-guzzling vehicle's monthly gas bill than for one fill-up, but I guess that's the price to pay for one of these. Around back, we have one of the coolest truck beds of all time. Rappers keep calling the Bentley Bentayga the Bentley truck or the new Lamborghini truck, but none of those actually are trucks. However, this is. Check this out. This is how you open the tailgate. You fold up this beautiful metal flap and release this military-looking lever here, then come around to the other side. There's one over here as well. This is the OEM tire from 1986. Extremely expensive and also very rotten, so we're not gonna put that on today. Go ahead and pull this side up as well and let down one of the heaviest tailgates, actually by far the heaviest tailgate I have ever felt, probably because of this tire. So let me try not to break my back here. Graceful. Not only does this fold down as a step, but actually in the bed of the Lambo truck are leather seats. That's right, it fits 4 people in there, but you could also potentially fit 2 people on each side if you do want a tailgate. Rolls-Royce just came out with their tailgating package for the Cullinan. I think the Rambo Lambo is a lot cooler. Now, it's not the most comfortable, we've got this metal backing, but do you really care? Absolutely not. With that being said, let's check out the inside. The interior of the LM002 is as ridiculous as the exterior. We've got 4 gorgeous leather seats that honestly look like as if a Saudi prince went, I'd like to retrofit the interior of my tank with the leather from my Countach. And honestly, that's about what we've got here. We even have the radio located up on the roof here. It's like a cocoon. I mean, the actual amount of space between your shoulders and the center console is incredibly limited. The steering wheel feels like you're turning a bus. It's not the most accurate. We'll talk about that more later when I go for a drive. We've got these massive mechanical tachometer and speedo that look like they're straight out of a tractor or some sort of warcraft. Beautiful wood everywhere. The leather is a bit weathered, but it's a 1980s vehicle. We've got these, well, these are the least attractive air vents I've ever seen in any vehicle, but tons of buttons everywhere and switches throughout that it would take a long time to figure out what they all do. Another insane feature is the rarity of the LM002. The total production numbers for this thing is just 308 worldwide. What's even more insane is that only 48 of them came to the US. And somehow, thanks to Lamborghini Newport Beach, I'm actually able to drive and review one of those 48 today. And it's even more rare than that when you really start digging into it. A lot of these LM002s don't actually even run, and some are just left away in sheds. Another mesmerizing part of the interior, and an insane feature on this list, is the optional clock. While it's not fitted on this model, I find it fascinating looking at the options of late 1980s and early 1990s vehicles in comparison of luxury vehicles of today. The Mercedes AMGs that come with IWC clocks. Well, on this, we had a $10,000 Breguet clock option. 10 grand is $22,000 in today's money, which is pretty much like strapping a solid gold Rolex to your dash and going, yep, that'll work for telling time. And I love that. The rear room in the LM002 is actually quite impressive. Even for being a vehicle this old, I still have legroom, I have ample headroom. There's even a storage compartment back here, controls for the AC as well as the windows. But the coolest part is the seatbelts. Actually, it's not cool at all, but it's fun to see 1980s technology. Now, unlike most seatbelts you're used to, and it works this way in the front where they automatically suck themselves back into the pillar and tighten up, this one is manually adjustable. You see, you have to free it up here so it can reach, which it still can't, and then you pull on this to tighten it. It is time to drive this thing, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited. Check out the key. I thought the key on the Gallardo was lame. This is one of the more interesting keys I've ever seen. But once again, it doesn't matter how many small little shortcomings there are with this car. It's one of the coolest things I've ever driven, if not the coolest car I've ever reviewed for vehicle virgins. And I don't say that lightly. The rarity, the just cool factor, and how insane it is to drive all add together into one wicked package. And the sound of that Lamborghini V12 is like nothing else. So let's go ahead, push the clutch in. The clutch is very stiff. Insert the key, and crank it up. Sometimes it takes a little bit to start. Let's see what happens. There we go, fired right up. Go ahead and put this 5-speed manual into first, pull it to the left and down. And off we go. Which brings us to the last insane feature of the LM002, and that is its 5-speed manual transmission. Now, there's no denying if the Lambo SUV was an automatic in this generation, it would still be cool, but there's something special about being able to row your own gears in something this extraordinary. And the gearbox is actually pretty good. It's a 5-speed ZF unit, and the shifts, they're a little sloppy and they're a little bit long, but in general, I actually quite like this gearbox. The clutch pedal is very stiff, but not overly so. However, if you ended up in bumper-to-bumper traffic, you probably wouldn't be too happy. Then again, it's probably not ideal to be in bumper-to-bumper traffic in an LM002 whatsoever. Now, the video that's going to be coming out shortly, potentially tomorrow, is going to talk much more in depth about what this thing is like to drive. And I'm gonna have a point of view video just showing all of the gauges and actually what the handling characteristics are like. But I'll explain in a little bit of detail here. It is an exciting experience. It is so loud in here. I'm barely on the gas. I'm at 2,000 RPMs and I can barely hear my own voice. This V12 just penetrates into the cabin, and that's a good thing. There is no question this is a full-fledged Lamborghini. It's as wild on the outside as it is on the inside, and that engine and sound are as well. The steering is quite loose. Look, I've got tons of play in the wheel, and it's not actually moving whatsoever. What a spectacular car. Let's go for a downshift. Oh, we've got a sign for bumps ahead. Let's see how it does over these. We've got full independent suspension, so it rides over bumps nicely. It does have a large amount of body roll, so in comparison to a new generation Lamborghini Urus that's gonna corner flat and still be able to off-road, of course you'll be a little bit underwhelmed. It actually feels a bit stiff on the road, even though it has just a ridiculous amount of body roll. That being said, there's something so special about driving this vehicle. Honestly, the only other thing I've reviewed that's come close to the experience behind the wheel as the LM002 is the Lamborghini Countach. It's difficult to drive, it takes a lot of energy, and it's something you would only want to do maybe once or twice a week on the weekends. But that's what makes it so fantastic. It's an experience, it's an entire journey hopping behind the wheel of it, firing it up and actually taking it out. It's massive, it's hard to place on the road. Granted, the visibility is phenomenal in this thing. You can see all the way around, and actually finding out where the edges of the LM002 are isn't all that difficult. The only limit in your visibility are the bulges in the hood. It's kind of hard to see over the front right corner, but once again, I could care less. The seats actually offer a ton of support. They're not super big in their bolstering, but they grip the right parts of your back. Reminds me in the oddest way of Porsche seats. Even with the standard Porsche seats, the way you fit in them, the combination of comfort and support is really unmatched. The leather is so soft in here. All right, what does this thing sound like? Gosh, that is unbelievable. Right now we are in all-wheel drive mode, but you can actually convert it to be fully rear-wheel drive for drifting, or just kidding, not drifting, cruising down the highway with better fuel economy. Oh my gosh. Sure, 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds isn't all that fast by today's standards, but with the noises this makes and just the emotional experience accelerating in it, it actually feels faster than that. Honestly, who really cares? What would you rather have, a Tesla Model X that can do 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, or an LM002 that can do it in 7.7? I'm taking the Lamborghini all day, every day. Well, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was one of the most memorable experiences reviewing a vehicle I've ever had in my entire life. Once again, special thanks to Lamborghini Newport Beach for making this video possible. I've got a link in the description below to their website. awesome group of people with a spectacular inventory, some of which I'm gonna highlight tomorrow. You're gonna be blown away by the cars they had in the showroom. With that, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, turn that notification bell on. I look forward to seeing you next video.